Viewers could hardly believe their eyes when whispers of betrayal turned into a full-blown on-stage eruption. According to reports flooding social media, Ty has allegedly dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming. She didn't just call out Evelyn in front of everyone. She claimed that Evelyn has been secretly involved with none other than Jennifer's man. And if that wasn't shocking enough, insiders say fists nearly flew as tempers spiraled out of control. The audience was left gasping. Cast members froze in disbelief. And fans online had been replaying the leaked clips frame by frame, trying to piece together what really went down. How did Ty get her hands on this information? Why did she choose this exact moment to air Evelyn's private affairs? And most importantly, what does this mean for Jennifer, who has been standing by her man through all the chaos until now? Emotions ran high as alliances shattered in real time, with accusations cutting deeper than ever before. Friends turned into enemies within seconds, and the energy in the room shifted from tense silence to explosive rage. One thing is clear: this scandal has cracked open a rift that may never heal. And the fallout is only just beginning. The moment the allegations left Ty's mouth, the atmosphere shifted so violently that even the cameras seemed to tremble. People in the audience leaned forward, jaws slack, while others clutched at their phones, trying to record every second of the unraveling chaos. Evelyn, usually calm and controlled in her public appearances, looked completely blindsided. Her lips parted. In disbelief, her eyes darting between Ty and Jennifer as though searching for an escape from the suffocating tension. Ty didn't hesitate, her voice sharp as she repeated the claim, insisting that Evelyn had crossed the ultimate line by getting involved with the man Jennifer has called her partner for years. Gasps rippled across the room. Jennifer's face told its own story, a mix of shock, betrayal, and quiet rage. She remained seated for a moment, frozen as though trying to process the enormity of what had just been revealed. Her friends tried to calm her, but she jerked her arm away, demanding answers. "Say it isn't true," she muttered, barely audible. But everyone close enough could hear the plea that carried more weight than any accusation ever could. Evelyn shook her head, her voice trembling. Ty is twisting things. She doesn't know what she's talking about. But Ty was relentless, pulling out her phone as if she had receipts ready to be shown right then and there. The energy shifted again when Ty claimed she had messages, late-night call logs, and even photos proving that Evelyn had been sneaking around. Whether the evidence was real or exaggerated didn't matter in the moment. The shock factor alone was enough to ignite the flames of chaos. Evelyn's eyes widened at the mention of proof, and she quickly tried to dismiss it as fabricated. "This is all lies. She's desperate for attention," she snapped, her voice cracking with both fury and fear. Jennifer, however, wasn't convinced. She turned toward Evelyn with tears forming in her eyes, asking why would she know so much if there wasn't some truth to it. The room grew eerily quiet for a split second, a silence so heavy it made every heartbeat sound louder. Then suddenly, voices erupted. Some cast members shouted in defense of Evelyn, accusing Ty of trying to stir unnecessary drama, while others pressed Evelyn to come clean. Doug, who had been watching quietly from the sidelines, finally stepped forward. He warned Ty to stop escalating the situation, saying the public exposure of personal matters was beneath all of them. But Ty shot back, "People deserve to know who they're dealing with. Evelyn plays innocent while she's breaking." Holmes, her words cut deep, and Evelyn visibly flinched. The crowd wasn't neutral either. Fans in attendance started chanting, some calling out Evelyn for betrayal, others accusing Ty of being messy and vindictive. The clamor grew so loud that security tried to intervene, urging everyone to calm down, but it was like throwing water on a raging fire. As the argument spiraled, Shantel suddenly inserted herself into the storm. With her arms crossed and her eyes locked on Evelyn, She added fuel by hinting that she, too, had heard whispers about Evelyn's late-night rendezvous. Ty isn't lying, Shantel declared firmly. She just said what everyone's been too scared to say out loud. Evelyn's mouth fell open, her betrayal doubled first by Ty, then by Shantel, a woman she had once considered an ally. "You're all ganging up on me," Evelyn shouted, her voice breaking as she pushed her chair back with a screech. "None of you know the truth." Her hands trembled as she tried to keep her composure, but her body betrayed the storm inside. She stood, pacing back and forth, pointing a finger at Ty. "You've been waiting for this moment, haven't you? You've been sitting on your lies until you found the perfect stage to humiliate me." Ty, however, didn't flinch. She leaned back, a smirk playing on her lips as though she had been preparing for this very showdown. "Funny how you call them lies," Ty shot back, "when deep down you know exactly what you've been doing." Her tone was icy, and the room collectively gasped again. By this point, Jennifer could no longer stay seated. She stood abruptly, knocking over a glass of water that splashed onto the floor, but she didn't care. Her voice shook with anger and heartbreak as she turned toward Evelyn, demanding to know, "Did you sleep with him? Just answer me right now. I deserve the truth." The rawness of her words struck Evelyn like a blow. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out at first, just shallow breaths that betrayed her unraveling composure. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think, but that only made things worse." Jennifer's eyes narrowed, her lips curling in disbelief. "Not what I think? Then what is it? Explain how my man's name is even in your mouth if nothing happened." The audience was hooked, hanging on to every word like spectators at a gladiator fight. Even those who wanted to intervene hesitated, sensing that the drama was too explosive. To cut short, camera zoomed in on every reaction, every tear, every trembling hand. The intensity was palpable, and fans online would later describe it as one of the most unforgettable moments in the show's history. Then came another twist. Ty raised her phone high, threatening to read out a series of messages allegedly exchanged between Evelyn and Jennifer's man. Security tried to stop her. Producers motioned desperately from the sidelines, but Ty was unstoppable. "Since she wants to deny, let's give the people what they deserve," she declared. Evelyn lunged forward, trying to snatch the phone from Ty's hand, but security quickly stepped between them, preventing what could have turned into a physical altercation. The struggle only intensified the spectacle. The crowd roared with mixed reactions, some cheering for Ty to expose everything, others begging for the madness to end. In the chaos, Evelyn's voice cracked as she shouted, "You're destroying lives over rumors." Ty retorted instantly, "Rumors don't come with receipts." The tension was so thick it seemed as though the walls themselves were closing in on them, while the cameras caught every moment. The producers looked panicked, unsure whether to cut the feed or let the scandal unfold. They knew this would dominate headlines for weeks, but they also feared the damage it could cause behind the scenes. Still, once a bomb is lit, there's no stopping the explosion. What followed was a standoff that no one could have scripted better. Jennifer stood in silence, her face pale and her eyes glassy, as though her entire world was collapsing. Evelyn pleaded desperately, trying to explain herself, while Ty and Shantel stood firm, unyielding in their accusations. Each word thrown into the air felt like another dagger, cutting deeper into a friendship and a family that had already endured so much turmoil. And just when it seemed the storm might finally begin to settle, Jennifer suddenly let out a sound that was half a laugh, half a sob. "You know what?" she said, her voice eerily calm. "Maybe the truth has been sitting in front of me all along, and I was just too blind to see it." Her words hung in the air, chilling and heartbreaking, sending ripples through everyone. In the room, Jennifer's eerie calmness lingered like a shadow, making everyone in the room uneasy. Her voice had dropped to almost a whisper, but the impact of her words was louder than any scream. Maybe I was too blind to see who my real friends are and who just wanted what I had. She looked directly at Evelyn as she said it, her stare so sharp it could cut through steel. Evelyn's lips quivered. She shook her head quickly, muttering, No, it's not like that, Jen. I would never." But her voice faltered, unable to finish the sentence. Ty folded her arms, watching the exchange with a mixture of satisfaction and raw anger. "You don't have to finish, Evelyn. We all see it now. Actions speak louder than excuses." Her tone was so final, so certain, that it left no room for doubt in the minds of those listening. The audience, unable to hold back, started buzzing. Louder, their whispers colliding into shouts. She did it. Some cried while others defended Evelyn, saying Ty was exaggerating to stir drama. Chantel, who had been watching intently, suddenly leaned forward. Her tone was colder than before. "You think this is just about you and Jennifer? No, it's about respect. We've all trusted you, confided in you. And now I'm realizing you might have been laughing behind our backs the whole time." Evelyn's eyes widened at Chantel's words, as though the floor was slipping out from under her. "I never laughed at any of you," she said, her voice breaking. "I cared." But the more she spoke, the more it seemed like she was digging herself deeper into a hole. Jennifer suddenly burst into tears, her hands covering her face as she sobbed. Her shoulders shook, her cries raw and unfiltered. The kind of heartbreak that pierced everyone watching. The sound cut through the chaos, making even the loudest voices quiet down for a moment. Evelyn rushed toward her, trying to comfort her. But Jennifer pushed her away so forcefully that Evelyn nearly stumbled. "Don't touch me," Jennifer cried, her voice soaked in pain. "You had the chance to protect me, to protect what we had as friends, but you destroyed everything." Her tears blurred her vision, but her words came out sharp as daggers. Evelyn froze, her hands hovering helplessly in the air before falling to her sides. Ty seized the moment. "That's what betrayal looks like," she announced, pointing toward Evelyn. "And no amount of excuses will wash away what she's done." Evelyn spun toward Ty, her face twisted with fury. "You're loving this, aren't you? You don't care about Jennifer's pain, you just want to see me break." Ty smirked, but her reply carried venom. "Maybe I do enjoy seeing hypocrites exposed. It's about time people saw the real you." The room erupted once again. Fans screamed over each other, some chanting Evelyn's name in support, others demanding she be held accountable. Security tried to restore order, but the chaos was bigger than them now. Cameras zoomed in on Evelyn's trembling face, on Jennifer's tears, on Ty's cold satisfaction. It was raw reality television at its peak, unfiltered, shocking, and impossible to look away from. Then came another unexpected twist. One of Jennifer's close friends from the audience shouted, "Ty, why now? If you cared so much about Jen, why didn't you say something earlier?" The question silenced the room, even if only for a few seconds. Ty's expression shifted. Her lips pressed together tightly before she finally replied, "Because I didn't want to believe it myself. I thought Evelyn was better than this. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But seeing her get bolder, seeing her not even hide it anymore, I couldn't stay quiet." The audience murmured again, divided between those who believed Ty's timing was strategic and those who thought she was genuinely standing up for her friend. Evelyn seized the moment, latching onto the doubt. "Exactly," she said desperately. "If she really cared, she would have said something a long time ago. She's just trying to destroy me because she can't stand that people actually respect me." Chantal cut her off sharply. "Respect? Do you even hear yourself? Respect isn't sneaking behind your friend's back. Respect isn't putting yourself in the middle of someone else's relationship." Her tone was icy, her words cutting with surgical precision. Evelyn looked between Chantal and Jennifer, realizing her circle of support was shrinking rapidly. The tension snapped when Jennifer suddenly stood again, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. Her face was blotchy, her makeup smeared, but her voice carried a newfound strength. "There's proof? Show it," she demanded. "I don't want whispers. I don't want accusations. I want the truth. Right here, right now." Ty didn't hesitate. She pulled her phone back out, scrolling quickly as the audience gasped in anticipation. Evelyn panicked, lunging forward once again to stop her, but security restrained her this time, holding her back. "Don't you dare!" Evelyn screamed, her voice raw. "This isn't your story to tell." Ty's lips curled into a bitter smile as she held up her screen. The gasps that followed were deafening, though the cameras didn't zoom in close, enough for the audience at home to read. Those nearby claimed they saw affectionate messages, late-night plans, and words that no just friends would ever exchange. Evelyn broke down, her legs giving out as she collapsed into a chair. She covered her face with her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. Jennifer, meanwhile, just stood there in silence. Her hands trembled, but she didn't cry this time. She stared at Evelyn for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then finally she whispered, "I don't even know who you are anymore." Her words sliced through the air like a blade, colder than shouting, more final than any accusation. For the first time all night, Ty's victorious expression softened. She looked at Jennifer, and for a moment, there was no gloating, just the quiet heaviness of someone who had exposed a painful truth and watched it break the person she was trying to protect. Shantel, too, sat back, her arms still crossed, but her eyes reflecting a strange mix of anger and pity. The crowd couldn't stop buzzing. Some people were yelling that Evelyn had been framed. Others swore the proof was undeniable. Hashtags began trending online before the taping was even finished. With fans already dissecting every glance, every tear, every word, the scandal was bigger than anyone in that room had anticipated. But in the midst of all the noise, one thing was clear. Jennifer and Evelyn's bond had been shattered beyond repair, and no apology in the world could glue it back together. As the chaos stretched on, Evelyn finally whispered through her sobs, "I made a mistake, but I didn't mean to hurt you." Her confession hung in the air, fragile and broken, leaving everyone frozen in the aftermath of what had just unfolded. Evelyn's quiet confession lingered like smoke after a fire. It's possible to ignore, but difficult to grasp fully. The studio had gone strangely quiet for a moment, as though everyone was waiting for Jennifer's reaction. Jennifer stood there, her chest rising and falling as she fought back another wave of emotion. Her eyes were red, but her voice carried strength when she finally spoke. "A mistake? You call sneaking around with someone I trusted a mistake? No, Evelyn, that's a choice. You chose yourself over our friendship. You chose lies over loyalty." The audience gasped at the coldness in her tone. Evelyn shook her head violently, tears spilling down her cheeks. "No, Jen, please. It wasn't like that. It wasn't about choosing. It just happened. I didn't plan it, I swear." Her words felt hollow, though, like paper trying to hold back a flood. Shantel leaned forward, her face a mix of disbelief and anger. "Things don't just happen, Evelyn. People make them happen. You crossed a line and you knew exactly what you were doing." Ty, standing nearby, folded her arms and delivered the harshest blow yet. "You're only sorry because you got caught? If I hadn't said anything tonight, you would have kept going. Tell me I'm wrong." Evelyn froze, her lips parting slightly, but no words coming out. Her silence was the loudest answer of all. The audience erupted again, some booing, others shouting that she needed to tell the full truth. Cameras zoomed in on every reaction, every trembling lip, every glistening tear. Jennifer suddenly stepped closer to Evelyn, her voice shaking with rage. "How long?" she demanded. "How long has this been going on? Weeks? Months? Don't you dare say it was just once." Evelyn's shoulders collapsed inward, her whole body trembling. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, clearly, battling with what to admit. Finally, she whispered so quietly the mics barely picked it up. Months. The crowd gasped so loudly it almost shook the stage. Chants began rising, some screaming liar at Evelyn, others in pure disbelief that someone could betray her friend for so long. Jennifer staggered back as if she'd been physically struck, clutching her stomach, her face pale. "Months," she repeated, almost to herself. "While you were sitting in my house, drinking my wine, holding my hand when I cried about my problems with him. You were with him the whole time?" The room grew more chaotic by the second. Security hovered close, ready in case emotions turned physical. Fans in the audience shouted accusations at Evelyn, while a smaller group shouted that everyone was ganging up on her unfairly. The split. Reactions only fueled the storm. Then, in a shocking turn, one of the producer's assistants walked on stage carrying a folder. Whispers filled the room instantly. What was in that folder? The assistant handed it to Jennifer, who looked at it with hesitation before opening it. Inside were printed screenshots, messages between Evelyn and the man in question. Gasps echoed through the studio as Jennifer flipped through them, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the pages. The messages weren't just flirty, they were intimate, emotional, filled with promises and confessions that painted a devastating picture. One line in particular made Jennifer's breath catch. "I wish I could leave her for you." She read it aloud, her voice trembling, and the room exploded. Evelyn covered her face with her hands, rocking back and forth, whispering, "I didn't mean for it to be like this." Jennifer's voice broke into a scream, the kind filled with both pain and rage. "You were planning a future with him, while I was sitting there, trusting you both. This is beyond betrayal, Evelyn. This is evil." The rawness of her words made the audience fall silent for just a moment. As though the gravity of the betrayal had finally sunk in for everyone, Ty and Shantel exchanged looks, both furious but also deeply unsettled by the scale of the deception. Shantel finally turned to Evelyn, her tone sharper than a knife. "You need to stop pretending you're sorry and admit the truth. You loved it. You loved sneaking around, loved feeling like you had something over Jen, didn't you?" Evelyn's eyes widened, horrified. "No, I didn't love it. Hated myself every day for it, but I couldn't stop." The admission stunned the room. She couldn't stop. It wasn't just a fling, it was an obsession, a dangerous spiral that pulled her deeper and deeper. Fans in the audience shouted over each other, some yelling that Evelyn needed help, others insisting she was manipulating the moment to gain sympathy. Jennifer, her voice low and trembling, delivered the final blow of the night's exchange. "You didn't just lose me as a friend, Evelyn. You lost me forever. Whatever we had, whatever we built, it's gone, and you'll never get it back." Her words fell like a gavel, a verdict that left Evelyn broken on the stage, sobbing uncontrollably as the audience watched in stunned silence. Torn between pity and outrage, the silence that settled after Jennifer's words was heavier than anything that had come before. Evelyn's sobs echoed in the room, raw and uncontrolled, as though every wall she had built had crumbled at once. Jennifer stood firm, her face pale but determined, refusing to let her tears return. Ty slowly stepped forward, her voice low but cutting like glass. "You know, what's the worst part? It isn't even just about Jen. It's kind of betrayal. Ripples. It breaks trust for everyone around you. How do we ever look at you the same way again?" Shantel, unable to hold back her own fury, added, "You didn't just wreck a friendship, Evelyn. You poisoned the entire circle. We sit together, laugh together, share secrets, and you were smiling at us while carrying the biggest lie of all." Her voice trembled, her anger teetering into heartbreak. The audience murmured in agreement, the sound like a rising storm. Some shouted that Evelyn needed to leave the stage. Others whispered that the situation had gone too far to ever recover. But then, as if the night hadn't already been filled with enough explosions, someone unexpected stood up in the crowd. Woman whose face was half hidden under a hat. Security moved toward her, but she raised her voice quickly. "Don't touch me. Need to speak." The cameras zoomed in, and gasps spread through the audience as her face was revealed. It was the sister of Jennifer's man, someone who had stayed out of the spotlight until now. She clutched a phone in her hand, her expression tight with anger. "I couldn't sit by anymore and watch lies twist this whole thing," she said firmly. Yes, Evelyn was wrong, but he's not innocent either. He chased her, he pursued her, and he told her he was done with Jen. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Jennifer froze, her body rigid, her eyes fixed on the woman like she was hearing a foreign language. "Juice?" "Say?" Jennifer asked slowly, her voice breaking. The sister nodded, holding up her phone. "I have the messages." "He told Evelyn he was leaving you. He told her you were holding him back, that he wanted a fresh start. You deserve the truth. Jen, don't let them pin it all on her." The audience erupted in chaos. Some gasped in disbelief. Others shouted that the receipts needed to be shown immediately. The sister handed the phone to production, and within moments, the messages appeared on the big screen behind the stage. There they were in glaring black and white, him telling Evelyn that he felt trapped, that he wanted to escape, that he saw a future with her. Jennifer staggered back as though the floor had been pulled out from under her. Her voice cracked when she spoke. So all this time, it wasn't just her, it was him too. Both of them. Her hands trembled violently, and Shantel rushed to steady her, whispering words that the mics couldn't catch. Evelyn, still weeping, lifted her head just enough to say, "I told you, he made me feel like I mattered. I wasn't lying about that." Ty slammed her hand against the armrest of her chair, shaking her head in disgust. "This doesn't change the fact that you betrayed Jen. Even if he chased you, you could have said no. You didn't." Evelyn flinched at the words, but before she could answer, Jennifer's anger turned toward the absent man himself. "Where is he? Why isn't he here facing this? He owes me answers." The crowd screamed in agreement, chanting for him to come out. The energy in the studio shifted to fever pitch as producers scrambled backstage. Moments later, he appeared, walking slowly under the blinding lights. Boos rained down immediately, a tidal wave of outrage crashing against him as he raised his hands to try and calm the storm. His face was tense, his jaw tight, but he forced out words. "I never wanted it to get like this. I didn't mean to. Hurt anyone?" His attempted damage control was met with laughter and jeers from the audience. Jennifer's face twisted with disgust, her tears finally breaking free. "You don't know what love is. You don't love anyone but yourself." The atmosphere was electric, the tension so thick it was almost suffocating. Security hovered again as emotions reached dangerous levels. Evelyn buried her face in her hands. The man stood with his head bowed, and Jennifer turned away from them both, her shoulders shaking as Shantel and Ty moved to support her. The studio lights burned brighter. The audience leaned in closer, and everyone could feel if the night wasn't ending in calm, it was only building toward one final eruption that no one could stop. What a night of revelations, betrayals, and raw emotions. Fans everywhere are still stunned, asking how friendships that once looked unshakable could shatter so violently under the weight of secrets. Ty's decision to bring everything to light left the room spinning. Evelyn's tears showed the depth of guilt and pain she carried. And Jennifer's heartbreak painted the stage with emotions so real that even the audience struggled to breathe. Through it all, the sudden arrival of the sister with receipts, the explosive confrontation with the man at the center of it all, and the raw accusations exchanged in front of millions have created a storm that may never fully settle. The question on everyone's mind now is simple: can trust ever be rebuilt, or has this circle been fractured beyond repair? Viewers, this is where you come in. What do you think? Was Ty right to expose Evelyn so brutally, or should she have handled it differently? Does this revelation prove that Evelyn was simply a victim of manipulation? Or do you believe she made choices she'll have to live with forever? And what about Jennifer? Can she move past this betrayal? Or is this the end of a bond that once seemed unbreakable? We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Whose side are you on? And what shocked you the most tonight? Don't forget to like this video if you were glued to the drama just like we were. Subscribe to the channel for more explosive updates. And turn on your notifications so you never miss a moment when secrets turn into scandals right before our eyes. Because if tonight proved anything, it's that in this world, the truth always finds its way out, no matter how messy it gets.